Hello and welcome to the Bonsai Garden, and something a little bit different today, since I've accepted the challenge from Gavin of Not Another Bonsai Channel to create a Halloween themed bonsai. And so let's see what I can do with this tree. So keep watching to see whether I can transform this into something a bit spooky. But first, let's get out of this weather. Transforming or creating a bonsai tree for Halloween can be a creative and spooky endeavour. Begin by selecting a hardy bonsai species that can withstand the decorative alterations. Consider adding miniature haunted house figurines, tiny witches or ghosts, and cobweb-like decorations to create a haunting scene. Utilise small LED lights to infuse an eerie glow. For a more traditional twist, you can also train the bonsai to take a twisted or gnarled appearance, resembling a haunted tree or forest. Remember to take care not to harm the tree in the process, and remove the decorations once Halloween is over to maintain the tree's health. I'm going to transform this tree into a Halloween themed bonsai tree, and in order to do that I've got my skeleton. I'm going to be using parts of that. I've got my tools, and I'm going to be using some bonsai wire and also some cheap cobweb type material, like a cotton material. I'm going to drape over the tree, and I'm going to give this a spooky appearance. But before I do that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my involvement with ghost hunting. A number of years ago I was involved with a group called Yorkshire Haunters, and I think they were inspired a little bit by the Most Haunted TV show. As a group, they would go to a local, supposedly haunted building, and it might have been an old mill or an old pub, some building that they could gather in and conduct a ghost vigil overnight. And what would happen is we would be locked in. They would conduct a seance, and then after the seance we would separate into individual groups with ghost hunting equipment such as night vision cameras, temperature sensors, and we would go about the building and we would try and determine whether there was any ghostly presence in the building. It became something of a people watching exercise for me. I'm not a particularly superstitious person. Whether consciously or unconsciously, the evenings would always take the same format. They would put people into a state of anxiety, and then they would crank the tension up and keep doing that until they experienced something, whether that was supernatural or psychological. The evenings would start with a seance or a spiritualist medium, and we'd sit round in a circle, and they would say that if there were spirits present, people might start to feel a drop in temperature next to them, or an icy breath down the back of their neck. And some people would experience that, and to me, that picked out the most suggestible and easily influenced members of the group. And they were always the ones who by the end of the evening were running down corridors screaming and jumping at their own shadows. And as they were running away from their ghosts, I would be running towards it with a camera to try and experience what they had experienced. And it was seldom supernatural. What was interesting was that it was almost certainly always those people who experienced something in that very early part of the evening who then went on to experience something later in the evening. And what that suggested to me was the seed of suggestibility had been planted into their minds, and it picked out those people in the group who were the most suggestible and most likely to be influenced into experience something. And I believe that although people, when they experience ghosts, are experiencing something which to them is a real experience, as an objective experience, to me, I believe that's all in their particular mind. Very seldom do you get a ghost encounter where everybody in the group that experiences the ghost or the haunting experience exactly the same phenomena. So somebody might see a figure they will suggest that to somebody else in their group, and it's almost like it becomes a bit of a group hysteria thing. In my experience with them, there were only really 2 occasions where something a little bit untoward happened. One of those was in an old farmhouse near Pendle Hill, where the Pendle witches were put to death. The owner of the farmhouse was a member of this UK haunted group, and so she allowed us to hold the vigil in this farmhouse, which she was converting. During the evening, myself and a friend were just taking a bit of a break from the group and sitting in an old living room with stone floors, big roaring fireplace. And as we were sat there, I thought I heard a breathing, almost like an asthmatic breathing into my ear. And I turned round to see who had made the noise. There was nobody there, but I also looked round to my friend, and she gave me the look to sort of acknowledge that she'd also heard the same thing. And the other experience was in Dean Clough Mills, which is an old textile mill in Halifax, where I was given a night vision camera, and the group that I was with went and sat in a corridor, and one of the members of the group felt something touch their head. Now, I had the night vision camera, and what I saw was an orb or a small light came and touched that person on the head, and I don't know what that was. Anyway, let's get to styling this tree.